In our next video, we're going to solve some proportions with square roots. Okay. Now you're solving for x. Now you know that 8 times the square root of 3 is equal to x times 1. So you're going to find this product, okay, but you don't actually multiply. What I want you to do is show your work. Write 8 times the square root of 3, underline the product, and put 1. So you can't multiply those. That's a coefficient, that's a square root. And the only thing, on this part section, the only thing the square roots, it's irrational, okay, as you can see right there. Okay, 3 is an irrational square root, so you can't replace it right away with any kind of value. You're not going to have to divide because the only thing 3 divides by is 1. So that's, again, don't even put the division sign now. Okay, so you can't multiply these, but you can divide the 8 by the 1, and that's 8. And then you put the square root of 3 on right there. Okay, so x equals 8 square root of 3. Okay, next one we're solving for y. So I'm going to multiply 10 by the square root of 2 and then divide by 1. Again, 2 is an irrational square root that only divides by 1, so really we're not going to go do the division, okay, and write it into 2 square roots. That's pointless. We cannot multiply these, but what we can do is divide the 10 by the 1. That'd be 10 and then square root 2. Okay. Next one, okay, find what the y would equal. So you're going to take 20 times 2 and then divide by the square root of 3. Now we have a problem here that we didn't have. The square root's on the bottom, so you have to rationalize your denominator. You do not want that square root in the denominator because then you can't divide. So you're going to put a times and a times, and you're going to put square root of 3. Okay. So we know that 20 times 2 is 40. Those can be multiplied because they're both coefficients, and then we just put square root of 3 next to 40. Now the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is just 3. Okay. Now you can divide the 40 by the 3. Okay, I don't really want that. Okay, so if you go second PRB, it'll make that 13 1/3. Actually, never mind. If you divide these two and you get a decimal, just leave it like that. 40 square root 3 over 3. Okay. So if you divide these and it's a decimal, just leave it like that. Next problem. Okay. 15 times the square root of 3 divided by 1. Okay. So square root's irrational. The only thing 3 divides by is 1 from that perfect square sheet. Okay, and we can go ahead and divide. We don't have to rationalize. There's no square root on the bottom. 15 divided by 1 is 15. So x equals 15 square root of 3. Okay, 15 divides by 1. I kept that as a fraction because 40 divided by 3 was a decimal, so I just left it the same. Okay, go on to the next page, please, and we'll complete this, because that's not enough examples to get the hang of it. Okay, x equals, well, 20 times square root of 3 equals 2 times x. So we're going to take 20 times the square root of 3, and then we're going to divide by 2. Okay, okay, so the square root's irrational, but the only thing that divides by is 1. We can go ahead and divide the 20 by the 2, and that's 10. So it'd be 10 square root 3. Okay, next one, y equals. So we're going to take 30 times 1 divided by the square root of 2. Okay, square root's on bottom, so you have to rationalize. It's when you extend the line out and times by the square root of 2 and the square root of 2. So 30 times 1 is 30. 30 square root 2. Okay. Now on bottom, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Remember, that's the square root of 4. You can multiply those, but it's just 2. Okay. Multiplying two numbers of the square roots always does that. Okay. Now we can go ahead and divide 30 by 2. 30 divides by 2 evenly. It's 15 square root 2. Okay. Next up, solving for x. So we're going to take 10 times the square root of 2. So the square root's on top. It's going to be easy. And then divide by 1. 10 divided by 1 is 10. Okay, and then square root of 2. Okay, next one, solving for x. So you're going to take 3 times the square root of 3 divided by 2. Okay, 3 divided by 2, you can divide that, but if it's a decimal, don't put it, just leave it like that. 3 square root of 3 over 2.